Hey guys, so what we're going to do today is take a look at another riff from the Guitar Tab Method book. And as I mentioned in the other videos, you can go ahead and pick it up in Amazon or different places. Just look around. Amazon is probably the easiest. Everybody goes on to Amazon, and that way you can follow along. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at a Rush riff, and it's the main riff of Working Man, and that's a pretty easy riff. Yep, so that's what we're going to take a look at. Let me bring the camera down and let's learn it. So to start out with, what we're going to do is we got to hit our open E string 2 times. Then we go on the A string, and we're going to hit the 5th fret with our ring finger, and then an open string, the open A string. So you're on the 5th fret, on the A string, and just hit it open next. So it's on E string, 2 opens, A string, 5 open. Now you may be wondering, well, why am I using my 3rd finger? Why am I not using my 1st finger? Well, that's because in the second half, we gotta play open, open on the E string, and then the 3rd fret, and then come to the 5th fret. If I use this finger, I'd be doing all kinds of moving. Then I have to move down here, back over here. So there's all this extra moving. Whenever you're playing, you want to cut that down. You want to do as little bit of movement as possible. You really want to try to keep your hands stationary and let your fingers go wherever they need, right in that position, so you don't have to move around. That's really important. And a general rule of thumb is, there's always exceptions to all this, of course, but the general rule of thumb is the note that's closest to your headstock, you're going to use your 1st finger. And then if there's a note in the next fret, you're going to use the 2nd finger. Note in the next fret after that, 3rd finger. Note after that, 4th finger. That way, if there's any notes, it doesn't have to be on one string. You can play a note here, note on the G string, back on the E string, and back to the G string again. It doesn't matter where you jump around. You can use these 4 frets. You can use these 4 fingers. So each fret has its assigned finger. And again, like I said, there'll be exceptions, but that's a good rule of thumb to go by. And that way you don't have to move your fingers around. So, all right, so let's move to the actual riff. So we had our 2 opens on the E string, then 5th fret on the A string, and open. Do a few of those. Open, open, 5, open. And saying the fret numbers is really good, because that's going to help reinforce, you hitting the right frets. Kind of do it without doing that, it's so easy to forget what it is and start hitting different frets, especially if the riff starts to get more complicated. So you want to start out by hitting, actually saying the notes and saying them out loud. That's going to help you out a lot. And then, little by little, you wean yourself off of it. Open, open, 5, open. Eventually, you're going to go bum, 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 bum. You can actually hum it. You don't always have to do that out loud, but whenever you're playing something, you want to try and hum it in your head so you're really connected to that music. And then if you make a mistake, you keep humming it, and you come right back in where you need to come back in. Otherwise, if you're not really paying attention and you're just playing mechanically, then you're going to make a mistake and be, oh my God, what do I do? And then music keeps going, and then you're trying to catch up, and then, you mess up a whole section, and then it just falls apart. You don't want to do that. You just keep humming it, forget about your mistake, and try to come right back into the next part that you're humming in your head. All right, so you had open, open, 5, open. And by the way, I feel like I got to sneeze here. Hopefully I won't. So, by the way, you hear me saying open, open, 5, open. Well, when you do that, I'm not saying E string, A string. So that's one thing that you got to do is you got to just memorize what notes are on what strings. There's really no way around it. You can't play, oh, E string, open, open, then on A string I'm gonna play 5, open. That's too much talking, and you're not gonna, it's gonna totally mess up the flow of the tune. So you just open, open, 5, open. Just say the fret numbers, and that's it. You just gotta memorize, totally memorize what strings you have to play these fret numbers on. So that's the first part. Open, open, 5, open. Second half is pretty easy too. Open, open on E string. Then you play the 3rd fret, and then back to the 5th fret. And again, that's why we wanted to play our ring finger here, so we can go from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret without moving our hand around. So open, open on E string, and then 3rd fret on the A string to the 5th fret on the A string. Do a bunch of those. And there you go. Now, I want to point something out. Here's a little trick to help it from sounding, messy and sounding clean. If you could do this, cool, then go for it. If you can't, then no big deal. You're just starting out. I wouldn't worry about it. But watch the difference. So here we go. Now listen. You notice that the second one is a bit cleaner. And what I'm doing here is I'm using my finger to mute out the strings. So you go over here, and when I hit this note, I'm not going. Hit my tip, because as you can hear, now that note's ringing and my low E string is ringing, so it sounds messy. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my finger and I'm bringing it up just a little, so it's just slightly touches it. So now all you hear is that. I lift up. You might hear a little bit of a harmonic because I just lift up. But if I do this, I stop that from ringing. You hear that E string going on. But and then you heard a little slight bit of a harmonic. That's kind of because I was lifting it up too. But this is going to drown out any little dinky little bit of noise there. You hear that? You're only hearing that note. And then you lift up. Now you could just let that go. And it doesn't sound too bad, but what you can do is, once you go to hit this E string, you can go ahead and hit that your finger right here to stop it also. And it might make a little bit of a noise, so you got to figure out, it's a harmonic, and so you got to figure out whether you want to chance that, a lot of distortion. You know, and then if you do it light, yeah, it depends on what you got for distortion. A little less, but yeah, once you touch it, you're not bringing it all the way down. It's going to make a little bit. So you got to figure out, you could just let it ring out. But if you notice that time, yeah, when I hit it, still did it, but that drowned it out. Listen again. It still happened, but you didn't hear it because this overpowered it. But you gotta make sure you don't do it too early. So I came in too early and you heard that harmonic. So you gotta coordinate it so you're stopping it and hitting that note at the same time. See, you didn't hear it that time. So you gotta make sure you hit it at the same time, or even though just a little tiny bit after is okay. But you gotta make sure you don't stop this note from ringing before hit that open string. So and now when I'm gonna go from here, I'm gonna want that low E string to stop again. So again, I'm gonna just, as I hit this note, I'm gonna slightly touch that, so it's gonna mute it. There we go. And when you come back here, you don't really have to worry about muting that really, because that's the only notes being played. So I'm gonna mute the E string and open. And hit this at the same, stop at the same time I hit the E string. And then make sure I'm going to touch that high E again, really slightly to stop it from ringing. And then I go over here. And I don't have to worry about that time, and I can start again. But when you start again, you're gonna have to lift it up and then place it so it stops that from ringing. So that's the trick for getting this nice and clean and clear. And if you can do that, it's really worth working on, because it's going to help you out in all the rest of the stuff you're playing. If you're at totally beginner and that's too much for you, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do whatever you can do. Just try. Your main focus then will be on playing it evenly. And again, once you get done, these are chord notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time your foot hits the ground, you're going to go ahead and hit that note. So again, if you can do the muting technique, and again, if you can't, then don't worry about it. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, but of course it does sound better if you mute the strings. You just have to work on it. It'll take some time. So what you can do is you can kind of go through the riff and get it the best you can. Work on focusing on timing, making sure you're hitting the right notes and stuff, right frets. And then like on the side, you could kind of work on your muting technique, because that's a little tricky to get used to, but it's really worth sinking some time in there. So that's it. That's it for this week. Work on that. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. All right, have fun, and we'll talk to you soon.